A 19-year-old woman is suing her adoptive parents for keeping her locked in a dungeon for the majority of her life, only letting her out once a day to do chores and give her adoptive mother a massage. This is Thomas and Denise Atkocaitis, who adopted a 14-month baby girl from China back in 2004 and named her Olivia. And Thomas, Denise, their 3 biological children, and their newly adopted daughter Olivia all lived in this 4,300 square foot home in the town of New Boston, New Hampshire. And it was roughly at around 3 years old that the abuse started happening for Olivia Atkocaitis, starting with being tied to a metal pole in their house with a dog leash. Shortly thereafter, Thomas and Denise built this 8-foot by 8-foot dungeon in the basement of their 4,300 square foot home, where Olivia would spend upwards of 23 hours a day only being let out to do chores and to give Denise a massage. Where she would barely be fed 1 time a day. In fact, when she had to go to the bathroom, she had to relieve herself in an open bucket that Thomas and Denise left for her inside of this 8-foot by 8-foot dungeon that the other 3 biological children said ended up stinking up the whole house. Olivia only attended school 1 day in her whole entire life. And in those 10 to 12 years that she was locked away in that room living with a bucket of her own human waste, she actually managed to escape multiple times, each time running the police to let them know that she was being held captive by her own adoptive parents in an 8-foot by 8-foot dungeon, being used as an indentured servant while literally being denied of her basic human rights like water, food, and education. And every single time, the police and/or the state's Division for Children, Youth, and Families would bring Olivia back to the house, take a look around the dungeon, decide, nothing wrong here, and then leave her back in the care of Thomas and Denise. And this happened multiple times. I mean, listen to this one time in 2011 when one of the biological children went to school that day, decided to tell their guidance counselor that their adoptive sister was being held in a dungeon in the basement. So the school calls New Boston Police and DCYF, at which point the police arrive at the house and take photos of the dungeon room, and they literally get a confession from Thomas and Denise that they were holding Olivia, their captive, and then DCYF comes in and only moves the biological child that made the complaint, the witness, and then leaves Olivia, the actual victim, in the care of Thomas and Denise. And fast forward to 2018, just 4 years ago, after being in that dungeon for upwards of 10 plus years, she finally made her last escape by literally using her hands to dig through the walls and the ground to escape the house. Not only did they take out a missing person at that time, but they tried to allege that they had to lock Olivia up so that she wouldn't abuse the animals, the same animals that she was responsible for feeding every day. She served 0 time, and he only served 6 months.